So we do all of our tours from the outside of the farm because we're very serious about our biosecurity here. We don't use any pesticides, so it's very important that we keep the farm very clean and free from any pests. That way we have the best produce possible. So if we were to enter the farm, the farmers would go into our decontamination room, and that has a 6,000 CFM air curtain when you first enter. So that is, if any pests try to follow in behind you and you got any bugs hanging out, anything like that, blows them right off. They also wear coveralls, so that way if they've got any kind of contaminants on their clothing, like pet hair, anything like that, we don't want touching the produce. All of that's completely covered. They also have boots that never leave the farm. We have a boot washing station, and then of course gloves and hair nets. So that way everything is very, very clean. So this would be where the decontamination room is. Right here is our shared workspace. Lights are off right now, so you can't really see. But the shared workspace is where we do all of our packaging, our seating, and we also have a door to the cooler in there, so that way we keep all of our produce at the proper temperature. The cooler also opens up through the back, so that way when the delivery drivers arrive, they don't have to walk through the clean space to get to our produce to take it to the distribution center. Then all of these shipping containers are upcycled shipping containers, so in their past life they were delivering produce. So that's helpful because they already have insulation in them, which allows us to keep everything at the right temperature. All right, I'm gonna do it. So this is the inside of one of our containers. We're growing basil. This basil is a few days away from harvest, so it's going to get bigger. We're going to be harvesting this in, it's Monday. How many days is that? A little bit less than a week. So the way that the system works is that at the very top of the tower, there is a pipe that drips water and nutrients down into each tower for the plants to absorb. And then the black mesh that holds all the plants into the tower, that is made of recycled water bottles. The plants are all seeded in plugs made of ground up coconut husks, so that is another upcycle from the food industry. Any unused water that the plants don't absorb gets collected in a trough at the bottom, which gets filtered and reused. So we use 90% less water than soil farming. The lights are all custom designed high efficiency LEDs from Philips. They are a full spectrum LED, but they look a little bit pink because we have the red and blue spectrum turned up for photosynthesis. The plants will spend about 2 weeks in the tower before we harvest it. And then once we harvest it, we'll run some sanitizer through each tower and then move the seedlings that are in the black nursery racks in the back of the container into the towers. So they're in the nursery for 2 weeks and then they're in the tower for 2 weeks, which means we're turning over this farm completely every 2 weeks.
And how long are the lights on for?
The lights are on 18 hours a day. We are able to make some improvements on nature because everything is so controlled. So having the longer daytime cycle for the plants, it makes them produce more essential oils, which is what gives them their flavor. We also have them on, their daytime is our nighttime because we don't want the farmers to have to work in the bright lights. So it's a little bit more comfortable for them, and the plants don't notice.
And how are these optimized as compared to what you would normally get in the grocery store?
Yeah, so because we are sending these to distribution or to grocery the day after they're harvested, you get a much longer shelf life because traditionally if you were going to get a fresh herb in the middle of winter, it'd be shipped from California or South America, someplace that has warmer temperatures this time of year. So you get much longer shelf life on it. As I mentioned, you're going to get a higher essential oil content because we have that longer daytime cycle. And then you also are going to get less stem in each package because we grow them to be a little bit wider versus tall. So each package is going to have more usable product than other brands of the same weight.
And one container, what is that equivalent to land mass-wise of a farm?
Oh boy, what did he just say?
20 acres?
Yeah, I think, or 20, 1 square foot is equal to, I believe the math came out to 20 square feet of a soil farm. But essentially, each harvest we get about 100 pounds of basil. And like I said, we're harvesting that every 2 weeks, so it's quite a bit of basil.
And then what are the racks in the back again?
Those are the nursery racks. So once we germinate the seeds, they germinate for about 2 days. We move them into the nursery racks for 2 weeks, where they grow up a little bit more, and then once we're done harvesting this container, we'll move them into the towers.
So they just like slide into place, or how does that typically work, or do you actually have to hand plant them?
So the way that these towers are designed is you're supposed to take the entire thing off the wall, pull the whole thing out, and stick the plants in, and then put it all back together. But we have a few engineers on staff. One of our engineers actually graduated from our very first year of the Next Gen Farmer training program. And he invented this little plastic key that allows us to pop open the towers while they're still on the wall. And we actually 3D printed them.
Oh, awesome.
So it's pretty cool.
And you said basil, how did the different plants behave harvest-wise? Like how does it differ with basil versus your chives versus your mint?
So the basil is a one-cut harvest. So what we do is we will cut the full plant, package it, and then completely turn over the container where we're planting new plants. But the basil, or the chives and the mint, are multiple cuts before we replant them. So we will cut back the mint or the chives to leave a couple inches, and then they'll grow back, and then we'll get multiple harvests out of one plant.
Are there any other kind of efficiencies that you've created with this compared to the traditional farming?
So, as I mentioned, we're using 90% less water than soil farming. Each container uses about 10 gallons a day, so less than you would use for a shower. The lights are probably our biggest resource, but we are hooked up to the Gordon Food Service home office power supply, which is geothermal, and then they also have a wind farm. So we're using natural resources that are, better for the environment, energy sources there. And then as we continue to grow and technology continues to get better, we're always looking at for other ways we can cut back some of that usage. And then the plugs that the plants are all in, the cocoa coir plugs that they're growing out of, those are all compostable. So we have very little waste coming out. We also try to cut down on some of our plastic usage, such as reusing the trays over and over rather than buying new trays every time.